Hi. Oh, sure. Yeah, my name's JeremyThompson. I've been running Spyro, mostly Spyro 3, since 2014. I had the record in Spyro 3 and E%, which is the category I'm going to be playing. Well, first record that I got was early 2015. It was taken back late that year, and then I got it back a month later, and I've had it since. It's 23 minutes, 58 seconds at this point. Yeah, I've improved it 24 times. I'm ready. Alright. So the premise of Spyro 3 is that an evil sorceress has kidnapped a bunch of dragon eggs from the dragon realms because she wants immortality, and their wings are an integral ingredient in the potion for immortality. So Spyro is tasked with collecting those dragons again, and we take a broad strokes approach to it. We just want to cut the head off the snake and collect as few eggs as possible. There are 150 in the game. I'm only going to collect 19 of them. The important ones are end of level eggs, which is at the end of every single level. There are 5 main levels in each homeworld. There's an egg that contributes to unlocking the boss. And so that's all we want, that's all we need. Don't have any gem requirements, don't have any specific egg number requirements. Lots of exploits, lots of glitches. The one that I just did is called a dead body proxy. And essentially there are certain objects in the game that have hitboxes that Spyro can charge through, but he can't glide through. And if you charge jump, meaning hold square and X, and then press X while you're still holding square, you get a 1-frame glide, and if you do that 1-frame glide inside of that hitbox, then you get ejected from the hitbox with a vector that's based on your timing. So usually we just want to go high, because the levels are very circular, so we want to get skips. One of the most iconic glitches in Spyro in terms of type is a swim in air. And basically, with a lot of games of this era, including Spyro, you have to consider water as a trigger in a container rather than a three-dimensional physical entity. And based on that, any level that has swimmable water, so any level that has a swim trigger, sometimes you can access that swim trigger out of bounds and you just get the swim state more permanently. That's what I did there to enter Seashell Shore. You might notice that Seashell Shore, I entered from out of bounds underneath, and that's because usually I'd need 14 eggs to enter it. But all the levels that require unlocks, they're still fully active underneath where they'd be if they were unlocked. And so, without collecting 14 eggs, you just go out of bounds and the portal's there. When I enter the next level, you'll be able to see visually that that portal's there, with Molten Crater, which requires 10 eggs. In Molten Crater, there's a similar glitch as to the one that I used in Sunny Villa called an animation proxy. It works much the same way as a dead body proxy, but rather than being ejected from inside of an object, you're pushed from the outside of an object. So I'm just going to get out of bounds with a wall glide, where Spyro's wing is against the wall. He maintains some height that he's not supposed to. Oops. And then you'll be able to see this portal, little mustache right here. The portals are visible slightly in Sunrise Spring for some reason. All the other homeworlds, they're totally invisible. And then I'll go for this animation proxy. So I'll be going into Cloud Spires. And essentially the story for that level is that the Rhinox have plugged the storm generator, the cloud generator, so there's no rain. Can't have Cloud Spires without clouds. And so we just need to rescue Fluffy, or meet with Fluffy, and go through that interaction. It's going to be a lot of just rushing to the end of each level. We're going to use a jump technique called a momentum conservation jump for this level instead of a proxy. Basically, if you charge, stop holding charge, and then immediately do a normal jump, that normal jump will have more horizontal velocity than it's supposed to. And it'll move the apex a little bit and let us take advantage of a hover mechanic, where the later in your glide you hover, the better your hover is. Oops. Shouldn't miss that one. And then we'll have a quick break with Sheila, where as soon as I enter Sheila, there's going to be a good opportunity for donations, if you have any.
Oh, you activated the Rhinox must have been you.
And hey, Becky and Dylan and Kia. So as I enter Sheila, we're going to use another swim in air, and then a technique called a superfly jump. That was strange. And the superfly jump basically just allows us to get a little bit of height before we're removed from our superfly. But now as we enter Sheila, which usually requires 300 gems, pretty boring level, just an escort mission, so if you have any donations, now's the time, next minute and a half really.
Thanks again, Spyro. Hiya, Sheila.
Nice. If you can't be heard on stream, should I? Okay, what's the name again? Okay, thank you Lilkill for donating $20. What was the message again? With the message, wow, 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 wow. Thank you very much. There's some audio issues related to the host. Yeah. Yeah. Have this little voice in my ear. Oh, you know what? Haven't run this category in too long. So to explain why I just missed that enemy. So, in 100 Egg, we do a slightly different route. 100 Egg is the legacy any percent for this category. That ignores that moose or whatever animal it's meant to be. And so, 100 Egg is what I ran most recently. I was doing it last August, and yeah, so that's why I missed it. There are certain checkpoints that have to be fulfilled before you continue through the level with the goats. Anyway, Buzz is a pretty interesting boss in that he is completely broken and very, very easy to break. And so if you like Spyro 3 and you want to do something with a boss that's interesting, I'll explain this and you could probably do it right away. You want to get the first hit, get him into the lava, and then stand at the very edge of the arena, right where he's going to pop out. A little before. This truncates his buzzsaw attack. So you just wait a little bit and then you hit him. And then after the first hit, start turning your camera. And usually he'll develop this wall of fire that's defensive. And if you turn your camera away from it, it doesn't actually spawn ever. And so you can just keep camping his spawn back in, turning your camera, and hitting him. It's a very easy, very quick boss. And that's Sunrise. 1/4 of the game complete with 6 eggs. Going into Midday Gardens, we're going to use another swim in air. It's slightly different than the previous one. The previous two that we used were based on hitting the swim trigger slightly out of bounds. This one, you hit the swim trigger on the specific container. We're supposed to like skim on top of the water. But because you're pushed up against the bottom of a bridge, your animation pulls you out of the water and then out of bounds, you clip out of bounds. So that's going to be the intention right here. Forgive my slight rustiness here. Don't have game audio myself. Usually I use an audio cue. There we go. So we go into Sergeant Bird. Sergeant Bird usually requires 700 gems, and so at this point so far, We've skipped 1,000 gems required, in quotes, not including the ones like in levels like Cloud Spires requires 100 or 200 to get to the end, but we skipped that as well. And at least 16 eggs. So Sergeant Bird has this omnipresent movement mechanic where by holding both strafe buttons you get strafe speed going in any direction you want. And so it makes Sergeant Bird a lot smoother in this category. This is the most intricate checkpoint system for an escort in the game, so you'll see me kill and drop down for specific enemies. Those enemies are important to getting Gabrielle the hummingbird through the level. So I want to kill this guy that's flying, and then Gabrielle will go to the door and I won't have an issue with her not following me, which occasionally will happen otherwise. One thing that should be mentioned is a lot of times the developers, they if they didn't think you were going to be able to reach a place, they didn't program that place with any sort of solidity. And so because of that, if you can do creative things, or in some cases not even creative things, if they just misassessed what's easy and what's not, you can get out of bounds really easily when it looks like there is a wall or something there. And so this is the case with Spooky Swamp, where we go out of bounds by going through a lantern. And they just didn't expect you to be able to get onto the bridge archway. And then we'll do another dead body proxy. Are there any other donations that I should read out?
You are brave, Dragon.
Yeah. So the charity for this event is Games for Love, which raises money for, what was it? Future for Children, and yeah, it creates sustainable futures and saves lives for children. So it's a very worthwhile cause. So if you have the extra money, then please donate and support that cause. Yeah. Yeah, if you send it to me on Discord, I can read it out in a loading screen. This is a new type of proxy in terms of this run. It's a very old type of proxy in terms of what was discovered. One of the first types discovered. It's called a squeeze proxy. And basically, very intuitive. If you think of the analogy of a wet bar of soap, and you squeeze it between your hands, that soap is going to kind of fly off in whatever direction, area with less pressure. In the same way, if you squeeze Spyro's hitbox beyond a certain threshold, then he'll fly off in an area with less pressure. We're going to use it one more time during the run, maybe twice if I have to do a backup. Pretty useful, especially at the end, you'll see. Thank you. Yeah, I see it. I'll get to it as soon as I can. So the next two levels, well, specifically this one, because I might go for something more interesting that I might miss because it's very difficult in the next level after this, but this level at least is a good, it's good evidence to show that the developers didn't quite know what was reachable. They put objects and platforms tantalizingly out of reach, but all of those with good charge jump mechanic use can be reached. Most of those can be reached, and so we're not supposed to be able to reach that platform with the head bash crate, but we can, and we do, and it saves 7 or 8 seconds rather than going through the level. The next level, I'll be going for a trick that was discovered during the tassing process of this category. Really interesting trick. It requires me to hit a very difficult jump at the very start, and if I miss it, I can no longer go for it. But even if I do miss it, although I won't be able to show it off, I'll explain what it is. Very, very odd glitch. It's called a momentary speed conservation, not to be confused with the proxy. And basically the ice wall, when it's broken, immediately in one frame gets pushed down into the mountain. So let me try to get this jump really quick, and then we could see the result, perhaps. If we don't, then I'll just explain. Okay. So let's see what we can do here. Okay. So that is the trick. First an ice wall skip, that's just gymnastics. After that, when Doug, or Bob, or whatever the polar bear's name is, that's on the cannon, when he shoots a shot that should not hit anything, it gets applied to the first actor in the actors list, which happens to be Sparks, who is the companion that follows Spyro and indicates his health. And so the damage from the cannon gets applied to Sparks' position, and so if I'm on top of the wall, then the damage gets applied basically to where the wall is. The wall explodes, I'm on the wall, I get pushed into the mountain, and there's a like solid wall there, and so I just get pushed up after that. Very fast, very high. If you watch the Spyro 3% task, which you could find by searching Nitrovsky Laponia task, you'll see kind of that pushed to its limits. Anyway, after this fight I'll be able to read the paragraph. No, it's totally fine. This fight is the best example of adaptive difficulty. This game had a very intricate system of adaptive difficulty based on which eggs were collected. There are certain eggs that were deemed hard mode eggs, and they would increase the value, and if that value got to a certain point, then you'd be on a hard mode. Right now I'm not, because I haven't collected many eggs, and so I'm on easy mode Spike. The fight changes very drastically. I have to hit him 3 fewer times. Anyway, let me read this message out. Games for Love is a 501c3 public charity dedicated to easing suffering, saving lives, and creating sustainable futures for children. Games for Love's thought processes are thinking critically to solve problems on a global scale. Games for Love is created holistically, and its programs are looking not just at symptoms of a problem, but how to eliminate root causes from a foundational level. So yeah, like I said, a very worthy cause, and if you have it in yourself to donate, then that'd be very much appreciated by everyone that would be affected by those donations. This game had 2 different releases, 1.0 and 1.1. I'm on the 1.0 version, in part because that boundary is a little bit lower on 1.0. You can still get out of bounds on 1.1, but it's slightly slower, a little more difficult. Bentley kind of just meanders along. He's a very slow guy, and he's the enemy of this speedrun when it comes to the second to last boss. I'll explain that when we get there. His level, not terribly interesting. There's some enemy manipulation, in the same vein as when I was in Buzz and I pushed things off screen to make them not happen. There are 3 seals that I need to kill to get to the end of the level, and if I pull those seals off screen, then they won't do anything, and so I can manipulate their cycles based on that, save a few seconds during the level. After that, there's a very easy gong skip, where usually you're supposed to throw a snowball out, spin it around, but we don't need to do that. We do need to talk to Bartholomew all throughout the level, which is why I'm having to wait occasionally. Bartholomew is Bentley's cousin or brother or some relative, I don't really know. We'll go for this just for fun. It's called World Record Proxy. It loses 5.5 seconds in every single category, so should not be in any records, hopefully moving forward. It was never so far in any records, but there's been the intent occasionally, just for fun. Yeah, until today when this run beats the 2358. So we'll be going into Frozen Altars next, and gonna use another Dead Body Proxy.
Thanks, bro.
It's not too bad. If you're getting into this game, Frozen Altars is probably one of the first proxies you learn. In fact, in 2014 when I started running, it was one of the only 2 Dead Body Proxies that people went for. Now, pretty much every level has one. Dead Body Proxies had recently been discovered in 2014 when Nitrovsky, who I mentioned earlier, had found them in the 117 task that he was doing, 117 being max completion of this game.
Welcome to
Thanks for helping out.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the question asked is why I chose to play on PSTV. In short, it was in 2015, there was an Australian marathon where somebody was playing on PSP, and they realized the loads for the game were way faster. And one of my friends, Grant Chill, who had second place at the time, he wanted to do testing on PSTV, which is like a consoleized version of PSTV, not a PSP, not handheld. And so he tested it, got a HD capture card, all of that. Decided that he wanted to play on it and save time over PS2, which was what we were using before. And it saved enough that he immediately got the record. And then I was offered by another runner, Saboom. He gave me a PSTV so I could be competitive with Grant, who was at the time the second place runner. And now it's kind of just become what top level runners, either PS2 FDS or PSTV FDS, they'll use one or the other. Mostly based on loads, which kind of unfortunate because the load meta isn't really something that I like in speedrunning, but at the time, go ahead. Yeah.
It looks like you'll have.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would prefer going back, like the N64 community for SM64 did a good job just sticking to original hardware. I think we probably should have stuck to PS1, but even as early as 2012, people were on PS2 for Spyro, and can't really go back once you have records like that, so it is what it is.
If you see handle.
The question was if I'd played on the Reignited trilogy, and I didn't really. No, I haven't played on the Reignited much, maybe 2-3 hours. I didn't have the consoles when it first came out, and so I didn't end up playing it. And the speedrunning scene developed very tangentially to the OG trilogy, where the speedrun's just totally different, which it's a good speedrun. I'd recommend watching it. I think Dylan J. Fox is doing a run even in this marathon of some Reignited stuff. But it was just different enough, and I'd invested enough time in Spyro 3 OG that I figured might as well stay. Oops. So at the end of this level, there's a new thing that hasn't been in this run. And I say new meaning within the context of this run, not within the context of what's been discovered. And that's, it's called Zombie. And there are a couple of games that I know of that have similar things, including like the Ratchet runs, which, I mean, it makes sense because they were also developed by Insomniac, but they have Ghost Ratchet, relating to dying but not really dying. So in this game, if you consider Sparks, Spyro's companion that I mentioned in Icy Peak, as a numerical value, gold sparks is 3, blue sparks is 2, green sparks is 1, no sparks is 0. When you take damage that should induce death, your sparks for 1 frame goes to -1. If you pause on that frame, you kind of hang it up at -1 and you can exit the level. And when that happens, you get put in this mode called Zombie Mode, where Spyro has difficulty transitioning between swim state and ground state. And based on that, the effects are right in front of you. I get a free swim in air, basically. Very, very useful in certain situations, this included. There aren't a lot of good ways into Charm Bridge, which requires 58 eggs. There's only one other way that I know of, actually, and hasn't even been done RTA. So Zombie is a godsend in that sense.
Spyro.
Yeah, so to the question, are there task-viable tricks that aren't used in RTA runs? There are a couple, and some of them have had RTA setups developed since my PB, which was actually 3 years ago. Only amounting to about 10 seconds. One of the ones was the one that I did in Icy Peak. That one, if you get good RNG, saves 5 seconds over what I did in my record. There's a squeeze proxy in Enchanted that's been adapted. But a lot of the stuff that is done in the tasks, because there was a task of this category made, like I mentioned, a lot of the stuff is just so unreasonable that not only has it not been made consistent, it hasn't been done a single time RTA in most cases. So it's a little bit hopeless in terms of implementing eventually. Maybe if I come back in 10 years and run, I can talk differently, but a lot of it seems like it will never be in runs. This fight is RNG hell in terms of the end of a run. It's not more than just binary RNG hell. You either get a red rocket or you get a green rocket. The green rocket loses 15 seconds immediately. And you can continue getting green rockets that lose more time. Got red rockets this time. The reason why green rockets lose a lot is because the gimmick is that red rockets you get 50 of them, green rockets you get 1, and the green rocket homes in a little bit. That homing doesn't really matter in speedruns, doesn't really do anything at all, and it prevents you, the 1 instead of 50, from getting double hits on Scorch. And so you end up losing quite a lot of time for green rockets. Which is why I mentioned that Bentley is the enemy of this run, is because I've had a lot of runs die to just getting 1, 2 green rockets, just enough to make the run not a PB. The run's relatively optimized at this point. Are there any other donations that I should read out? Okay.
Spyro, I know.
Okay, so it was the Oregon Trail? Okay. Yeah, next run is going to be the Oregon Trail by Pseudo Skunk. It's going to be a good run, so you should watch that. In about 8 hours, if you like Spyro, then Dylan's going to be running that. Dylan's in chat right now. So this skip, I should actually just hesitate and mention this. I did a squeeze proxy, got up into the mountains. There's an area portal for the Sorceress, who's the final boss. Usually requires 100 eggs, which is why the 100 egg category is the legacy any percent. In 2013, a glitch finder named Tuval found that if you touch that spot right there, the area portal bleeds enough that you just go in, and then you skip 81 eggs in the run. Pretty insane skip. Tuval, we're shouting out, pretty much the founder of any extremely game-breaking glitch in Spyro for like large levels. He found Gulp Skip in Spyro 2, which cut the run by 15 minutes. He found Credit Skip in Spyro 1, Coveless, Twilight Harbor Skip, many, many things. Very close to time, we're about 40 seconds off. So this fight, I've been having to concentrate, so I haven't been able to commentate it well. It's very worked out. There are patterns that you can follow. It appears to be very random, and it is very random, but there's a situation, or there's a strat for every situation, basically. So I got UFO skip, which is the intention, the big part of the fight that we've worked out. We don't want to run the UFO, which is the third vehicle. Time, by the way. Not bad. Okay, cool. So like I mentioned, we have Oregon Trails, was it? Next. Oregon Trail next, and if you want to see more Spyro, then stick around in 8 hours or come back in 8 hours, and Dylan's going to be running the Reignited Trilogy. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And my name is JeremyThompson, so if you search on Twitch for my name, it is my real name, but also my Twitch username, so that's where I am.
What do you plan to do next? Perhaps a nice vacation?
Yeah, thank you.
You're a real comedian sometimes.